Okay, so let's start today's session. Hello everyone, I am Sakshi Bharadwaj and I am a PMRF TA under the course Polymer Process Engineering for Professor Shishir Shana in Chemical Engineering Department, IIT Roorkee. And I am a PhD scholar under Professor Pradeep Kumar Maji in Department of Polymer and Process Engineering, IIT Roorkee. And this is the problem solving session 10 in which we are going to take assignment 10 related questions. So let's start with a brief introduction of mine. So here's this. I am a PhD scholar, and the topic of my PhD is fabrication of cellulose-based aerogels for thermal management applications. I have completed my master's from Maharishi Dayanand University, my bachelor's from Kirodimal College, University of Delhi. Apart from it, I have successfully conducted two projects, one in Indian Institute of Technology, Roorkee, over thermal superinsulating aerogels, and another one in University of Delhi over repurposing of drugs for SARS-CoV-2. And let's start today's session. So before today's session starting, I just want to tell you all that we have already completed the different type of polymers, their formations, different type of reactions polymers follow, their testing techniques and the heat transfer, their mass transfer, and so many phenomena. So now when we are moving towards the end of these polymer processing course. So here are some like applications or different polymers and different applications. How can we they use? Because every polymer made is a different kind of a property associated with it. So that's why they can be used as a different substrates. So here in this class, we are going to take some of the polymers which can be used in different applications, starting with the polyurethane. So it's like if you look at the screen, just a second. If you look at the screen, so this is the structure of polyurethane in which these two kind of monomers react together to form polyurethane, and this is the urethane linkage which is formed generally during the formation of polyurethane. And polyurethane possesses many kind of properties. Like first of all, it is widely used for coating and conformational coatings, which we are going to read further in upcoming slides. And it excels as protective sensitive component from environmental stress because it carry the properties like it has flexible and impact resistance. So there's a key property: electronic component and solder joints are rigid and brittle. Polyurethane form a tough yet pliable cushion around them. So polyurethane, because of its flexible and impact resistance, it can form a coating like this so that the impact of such material can be increased. Vibration and shock, because it absorbs mechanical shocks from drops or constant vibrations. Hence, it can be used in automotives or industrial machinery, preventing them from cracking. Last, the thermal cycling. As the circuit heats up and cools down, components expand and contract. Polyurethane flexibility allows it to move with them without exerting stress, which could otherwise break delicate connections. So that's why different type of in I can say the electronic circuits, polyurethane can be used like this. And based on these properties, we are going to take some questions related to polyurethane and their different applications. So here the first question is like which property make polyurethane suitable for protecting electronic circuits from environmental stress? As we read the polyurethane and their different properties right now, so I think you guys are able to solve this question very easily. So which property make polyurethane suitable for protecting electronic circuits from environmental stress? Excellent optical clarity, flexibility or impact resistance, high thermal conductivity, and electrical conductivity. It's a very simple question. I'm expecting many answers in this. Okay, I only got one answer which says it's B, flexibility and impact resistance. So let's see the answer. Yes, it's B, and we have just read about it that the flexibility and impact resistance of polyurethane makes it suitable for protecting electronic circuits and environmental stress. And this is also the explanation that polyurethane provides a tough, flexible barrier that protects delicate components from mechanical shock, vibration, and physical impact. And it can absorb stress without cracking, which is crucial in electronic devices that may experience thermal cycling, dropping, or movements. So that's why these polyurethane can protecting can make these electrical circuits free, or their environmental stress can be make very less. And apart from it, if we look at the other properties of like the optical clarity, high conductivity, electrical conductivity, these properties will not play an important role for the protecting electronics. These kind of properties had not impact on these things. So it is the flexibility and impact resistance which make polyurethane a suitable material for electronic circuits protection. So that's how the question is. I hope this question is clear. It's a very simple question based on the topic. And today we are going to take such questions also, which is based on the introduction of topics. And so you just need to understand like which kind of polymers has which kind of property so that they can be used for different kind of sectors, or I can say industries. The another question is the in electronic encapsulation, polyurethane coating compounds are used mainly to. They're asking like in electronic encapsulation, polyurethane coating compounds are used mainly to either reduce the weight of components, conduct current between the metal contacts, protect circuit from moisture, dust, and mechanical shock, or enhance the transparency of displays. So how these polyurethane coating compounds are used mainly to? Why these can be used? Okay, so I got an answer which says it's C, like protect circuit from moisture, dust, and mechanical shock. And yes, the answer is C, which protects circuit from moisture and dust and mechanical shock. So this is like the polyurethane can help in protection from environmental stressors like moisture. Polyurethane create a water-resistant barrier that prevent corrosion and short circuit caused by humidity or liquid exposure. Another one is dust and debris. It seals the components, keeping out fine particle that could interfere with operation. So they are like the because of these polyurethane, moisture can be resist, dust and debris can be resist, and lastly the mechanical shock and vibration. So due to flexibility and impact resistance, polyurethane absorbs shock and vibration, protecting delicate parts used during transport. So this is the question in the last slide. So all of these, because of these properties, these can be used mainly into electronic encapsulation. So yeah, C is the correct answer. If you look at the other options like reduce the weight, conduct current between metals, enhance the transparency, you can simply neglect these type of options from the question, and of course the question remain very simple if you look at the options itself. I hope this is very clear. I do not need to think to explain much in this session about these things. Okay, then let's move forward to next question. So the next question is like electronics. Okay, so it's kind of a similar questions what we have done. So like coating with polyurethane is primarily used to what? Improve heat conduction, create flexible, provide environmental and mechanical protection, or increase the signal strength. So I guess this is very, very, very easy because the last question is also similar to this one. And I think everyone can answer this question right now. Okay, I got the answer which says it's C, like to provide environmental and mechanical protection. And yeah, it's very common question because we have already discussed this. So okay, so starting with the introduction of the like what is coating? So coating is a process which used in electronics manufacturing where a liquid resin or a compound is poured into an electronic assembly or enclosure, which then cures hardens to form a solid protective layering around the component. So coating is a process in the electronics manufacturing in which a liquid resin or a compound is poured into an electronic assembly, it's to close and then it's cured so that it can form a protective layering around the compounds. And the primary functions of these kind of coatings are because of the environmental protection, like polyurethane protects sensitive electronics from moisture, dust, chemicals, and otherwise they can lead to failure. Another one is the mechanical protection, like it's flexible and impact resistant, so it can help to absorb shocks and vibrations, and then hence it can be prevented from damage to delicate components. And lastly, because polyurethane is a good electrical insulator, so it can also prevent short circuits, mainly maintaining the circuit stability. So that's why these kind of properties help a polyurethane to coating or to form a compound kind of a coating around electronic devices. I hope the process of coating is clear and why polyurethane is used in this is also clear. So if there's a question, which is the next question, which is also about the conformal coating. So they are asking that what is the main difference between coating and conformal coating. So I guess now we are exactly understand what is the meaning of coating. So, now right now they are asking about the conformal coating in electronics. So, like the main difference is that the options are coating covers only the surface, conformal coating fills the enclosure. Second option is coating involves encapsulating the entire component, or conformal coating forms a thin protective film. C is conformal coating is used for structural support, and D is coating is only for transparent material. So, what is the main difference between coating and conformal coating? Right now, we have idea about this coating techniques, but and in this question, we will get the idea about conformal coating. So, what is the main difference between two? Okay, I got the answer, which says it's B. Coating involves encapsulating the entire component, and conformal coating forms a thin protective layering. I'm expecting some more answers because this is a very simple topic. So I'll be happy if I got some more answers on this question, in these type of questions. Okay, then look at the answers. So yeah, it says it's P, which says post coating involves encapsulating the entire component, and conformal coating forms a thin protective film. And if you look at the definitions of both of them, so yeah, it involves completely filling the enclosure node with a liquid resin, example polyurethane or epoxy, which cures into a solid mass. The electronic components are fully encapsulated and surrounded by the this. And if you look at the first option, so it says the reverse, like it covers only the surface and this coating fills the enclosure. So no, it's exactly the reverse. So this option is wrong. And if we look at the conformal coating, so it's apply a thin protective film, usually 25 to 25 to 50 micron thick, and that conforms to the surface of electronic assembly. The coating, this type of coating protect moisture, dust, corrosion while keeping the assembly visible and relatively lightweight. This type of coating typically used in consumer electronics, aerospace, and PCB assemblies where full encapsulation isn't needed. Whereas protective, robust protection against moisture, chemical, mechanical shock, and these coating type of coatings. This asking is polyurethane used for conformal coating. Often, yes, polyurethane can also be used for conformal coatings, because if polyurethane, if you are mixed that in some solution and if you applied a coating of polyurethane over a surface, it can coat into it. If you are not dipping the exact electronic into the resin or the liquid resin, so it just can apply the coat over it. So that kind of coating can also be formed with the help of polyurethane case itself. So there's a different in the process, like processes are different for both of the cases. So same type of polymers can help in that process also and that process also. It depends how you completely proceed the process with it. Okay, I hope the difference between these two techniques also clear to all, and the main application areas for both of them also clear to you all. If yes, we can move forward with the next topic or the next question. Let's see what comes next. Yeah, it's a topic. So it says isocyanates and their risks. So isocyanates, if you look at the functional group, so isocyanate contains these kind of NCO functional group, and it's a family of highly reactive chemical compounds. And they are key ingredient used to make polyurethane products. So if you see, polyurethane contains these isocyanates. And think about this like flexible and rigid forms in furniture, high performance adhesive surface coatings, and sealants. So these kind of isocyanates can be used to form these kind of forms, adhesives, coatings, and sealants. And how are workers, if you look at the risk, so isocyanates are very risky, and the main risk come from inhalation. So if isocyanate vapors can be inhaled or something like this, so that can create very problems. And how this happens? Isocyanate vapors, mist, fumes, which can be released during process like spraying, foaming, heating. So if skin contact is also a routine of exposure. And what is the primary health hazard? So the primary health hazard is respiratory sensitizers, because if you inhale such kind of mist or vapors into it, it can cause you the problems related to respiratory system. Initial exposure, like a worker might have a small immediate reactions like mild irritation or no symptoms. Sensitization is like the immune system can become sensitized or allergic to chemical, and this is a permanent change. Subsequent exposure is like once sensitized, any for future exposure, even to incredibly small amount well below the official safety, can also trigger a severe life-threatening asthma attack. And this condition is also known as occupational asthma. Like symptom include several shortness of breath, wheezing, coughing, and chest tight. This is by far the most serious and primary occupational hazard associated with isocyanates, and that's why nowadays research are going on to the polyurethane, like without the use of isocyanates. So if we can make such type of polymers in which these isocyanates have already played an important role, by replacing them with some other chemicals which is not that much risky to our health. So that is the main focus of today's research. If you look at the research scenario, so many people are forming bio-based polyurethanes and polyurethanes such as from the materials which is not exactly containing the isocyanates, and such kind of materials can be used further because isocyanate associated with a lot of risk, a lot of health risk. So let us take some questions related to these isocyanates. So yeah, this is the first question, like what is the primary occupational hazard when workers are exposed to isocyanate vapors? So yeah, this is we just discussed right now. So it's a very simple question, and options are respiratory issues and asthma, eye strain, skin dryness, or hearing loss. And it's a very simple question because we just discussed like what kind of these isocyanates are associated with risk. Okay, so it's a simple question. So the answer is A, of course. And as we covered, isocyanate are potentially respiratory sensitizers that can lead to a severe and potentially permanent condition called occupational asthma, while they can also cause skin and eye irritation. The respiratory effects are the most severe. So yeah, if you can look at the options, this is eye strain and skin dryness. Yeah, they are also correct, but they are asking the primary occupational. So this is the primary occupational. So if your options contains problems like the eye strain, skin dryness, also apart from this is also a correct option. We cannot exactly deny that they are wrong, but the primary exposure or the primary concern is the respiratory issues or disease like asthma. Okay, so I guess these questions are clear to everyone. So let's move forward to the next one. Okay, so the next one is not exactly a question. It's a topic which says epoxy adhesives and their strengths. So this is a completely new topic which says it's epoxy. So what are these kind of epoxy adhesives? So these epoxy adhesives are a structural adhesives, meaning they are strongly enough to hold together the main frame or structure of an object. They come in two parts, like a resin and a hard. When these two parts are mixed, a chemical reaction starts that cures the mixture into a very hard, durable, and stable plastic. The key to their strength is the formation of a tightly cross-linked polymer networks. The reaction starts with an epoxide group like a three atomic ring. If you look at this is the epoxide group in which one oxygen is bound to three there, like it's a three-member ring with the two carbons, one oxygen and two carbons on the resin molecule. So this is the resin molecule and this one is the hardener, typically an amine. Opens the ring and forms strong covalent bond linking everything together. So if you look at the reaction, so reaction what happens here is like this N because of this react of this center and while this ring opens. So here that's why this OH and this NH, these kind of chemical groups, functional groups formed after the reaction happens. And this kind of resin and a hardener, when you mix together, so the epoxy adhesive will form. And what makes them ideal for aerospace and automotive use? So like the chemical resistance, because of their formation, they are very much resistant to chemical. They are strong. Their cross-link structure is very stable. It's tough for chemicals like jet fuel, gasolines, oils, hydraulic fluids, and other solvent to break it down. The other option is thermal resistance. So the same stable network can withstand with high temperature without degrading, which is crucial for engine components like the aerospace applications where friction and environmental conditions create extreme heat. So these are kinds of adhesives also used at a place where we need extremely thermal resistance to the things. The next one is the mechanical strength, so that they bond materials like metals, composites, and plastics with incredible strength, often revealing or exceeding mechanical fasteners like rivets or welds. So they can also use because their mechanical strength is high. So the chemical, thermal, and mechanical strength of these kind of adhesives are very high. And I hope you guys got the reactions also like the resin and the hardener. If you mix together, the reactions start in the epoxy form. And whenever we need such kind of system, we can exactly at that time can form these kind of adhesives and just use it at a place where we need required chemical, thermal, and mechanical strength. So I hope the topic for epoxy is clear to everyone. If anybody wants to see the reaction, I guess the reaction is also very simple, in which simply you can see the NH2 and the lone pair of N reacts on the center because of the oxygen. This center becomes very reactive, and that's how the ring opens, and it can this kind of bond can be formed with this. And I hope if this epoxy, the concept of the epoxy and the strength are clear, so we can move forward with the questions with these kind of topics. So the first question is, which curing agents react with epoxy group to form cross-linked thermoset networks? It's a very simple question because we just have read about this. Okay, so it's a very simple question, and the answer to this question is B, and most of you have given the correct answer. It's B, which is amine. And we have just read about how amines can help to form the bond with the resin. So the amine contain nitrogen atom, and hence because amine contain nitrogen atom with lone pairs. And these lone pairs can react with the epoxide rings in epoxy resins. And hence the reaction opens the epoxide rings and led to the formation of a strong covalent bond, resulting in a cross-linked thermoset network. So these kind of network, if you look at the thermoset network, these kind of network forms in the thermoset, and because of these strong networks, they can have the properties like the chemical, the mechanical, and the thermal resistance. And if you look at such which kind of amines can be used, so the aliphatic amines, cycloaliphatic amines, aromatic amines, and polyamides and modified amines. So aliphatic amines are such kind of amines which have the simply C groups. Cycloaliphatic amines is like this, where one edge connected. So yeah, they are the cycloaliphatic amine. Aromatic amines are like this, which has the aromatic groups associated with the amines, and polyamides and modified amine adducts. So such kind of amines can be used to cure the epoxy groups. The result is a rigid, heat-resistant, and chemically stable thermoset polymers, which can be used as coatings, adhesives, and composites. So that is why amines can be used. Okay, then move forward to the next question. Yeah. So in electronics, epoxy is widely used because it acts as a conductor, decomposite in UV light, melt easily for reshaping, or has high thermal resistance and dielectric strength. So why epoxy can be used in electronics? Okay, I got two answers, which says it's D. It has high thermal resistance and dielectric strength. And yes, the option three is correct. Electronics, epoxy is widely used because it has high thermal resistance and excellent dielectric strength. Epoxy can withstand elevated temperatures without getting degrading or losing structural integrity. This makes them ideal for electronics that generate heat or operate in high temperature environments. So that kind of thermal resistance can help to use them in electronics. And another one is excellent dielectric strength. Epoxies are electrical insulators, meaning they prevent the flow of electricity. Their high dielectric strength help protect circuit from short circuit arcing and electrical breakdown. This is critical in applications like printing circuit boards, transformers, and sensors. So because of their electrical insulation and their resistance to elevated temperature, these kind of epoxies can be used in electronics as a coatings or adhesives. So polyurethane also with epoxies, both can be used in electronics for the coating purpose or the I can say coating purpose. Coating, P. Okay. If anybody has a question right now, can ask in the chat box. But I guess as these topics are very much based on the properties itself, it's not that much hard to understand. So, okay, then let's move forward. So, yeah, the curing agent in epoxy resins function by initiating change season of the polymer, enhancing the color stability, increasing the molecular weight, or cross-linking the resin molecule into a rigid structure. So, how these curing agents can function in epoxy resins? Okay, so the answer is D, cross-linking the resin molecule. Of course, if you look at the options, every other options can be eliminated very easily, like enhancing the color stability, no. Curing agent hasn't any role in the color or not. Increasing the molecular weight, no, it cannot. And initiating chain season of the polymer. So it will not initiate chain season, whereas it helps in form the bonds and to form the cross links in the resin molecule so that it can form a rigid structure. So epoxy resins contain epoxide group, reactive three-membered ring like this. Yeah. And the curing agent often is amine or anhydride. So amines are NH2 and anhydrides is like C double bond O, O, C double bond O and such kind of bonds. These kind of bonds can react on epoxies groups. This reaction leads to cross-linking where the resin molecules are chemically bonded together into a rigid infusible structure. The result is strong, durable thermoset polymer. These kind of properties and then can be used in different aspects. So hence, these kind of molecules or the compounds can help to form the cross links between the resin molecules and then forming a rigid structure. So that's how the chemistry behind epoxy works. And that's how the applications behind epoxy and their properties behave. I hope the concept of epoxy as well as polyurethane and different type of coatings process is clear to everyone. And if yes, we can move forward with the next topic. This today's session is just involved these kind of topics like the polymers and how they can be used in electronics or such different applications. Okay, then move forward. So yeah, in aerospace and automotive manufacturing, epoxy adhesives are prefer it because they provide, and I guess it's a very simple question. We do not need to think much. So why these epoxy adhesives used in aerospace and automotive manufacturing? Okay, so it's A, yes, it's A, resistance to fuel, solvents, and high temperatures. And of course, highly cross-linked epoxy made it exceptionally durable and stable, allowing it to resist chemical attack and thermal degradation, which are common challenges in the today's industries. And that's how these epoxy adhesives are preferred in industries like aerospace and automotives. Okay, then let's move forward to the next topic, which is silicone encapsulants and their properties. I hope right now epoxies and polyurethane is clear. And if anybody has any issue or problem in understanding any of this topic, just please write me in the chat box. I will try to take it as either in this class or if something is out of my hand also, so I can incorporate that in the next class as well. So yeah, starting with the silicone encapsulant and their properties. So in silicone encapsulant or coating compounds are protective material used to completely cover and seal sensitive microelectronic component and circuit. Think of it as putting a flexible, durable, and transparent shield around the fragile brains of a device, protected from the outside world. So if you look at this, so this is the polydimethyl siloxane backbone, and this SiO group, which is silicone, it is very important. And you look, these kind of silicone backbone can help to form such things. Unlike most plastic that have a backbone of a carbon-carbon, like C double bond C, which is generally apart, but the silicones are built on a super strong and stable backbone of alternating silicon and oxygen. So it's, if you look at the group, so carbon and silicons are from the same group. So hence the carbon-carbon bond, similarly the silicon and oxygen bond are very stable. And this is called the siloxane chain or SiO-Si bond. The most common silicon is polydimethyl siloxane, which says PDMS, where methyl group CH3 are attached to silicon atoms. So it's like methyl group here. If you look at this, these are methyl groups. So they are not the simple lines. If here it's CH3, and this CH3 present at every point of this, like this. And the bond between silicon and oxygen is significantly stronger and more flexible than the carbon-carbon bond in typically organic polymers. So these bonds are very much stronger, and that's why, because of this stronger and different bonds, the properties of these kind of silicons gave a set of superpower perfect of protective electronics. They can incredibly increase thermal stability. The high energy of Si bond means it takes a lot of energy to break. This allows silicon to remain stable and function over an extremely wide temperature range, from deep freeze condition like from -50 to very high heat like +200 without becoming brittle or melting. So such kind of system can be used in automotives as well, where the temperature will suddenly increase because of the heat generation by the engine or itself. And sometimes in the freezing conditions, like if you're working in a country where it is snowing heavily, or a conditions like -50 or such parts of a machine where the temperature should be very low. So these kind of polymers can help to form coatings or adhesives at that place also. Another one is the electrical insulation. This is very important property, because if you talk about the electronics, so the electronics, and if you talk about the polymers for the coatings in electronics, so it should be electrical insulator. Otherwise, if it will conduct the electricity, the problems arises from there. So this is electrical insulator. This do not contain conduct electricity. This is critically because an encapsulant must protect circuit without causing short circuits. So shorts prevented from short circuits. The polymer coating should be like electrical insulating. The another one is flexible and stress relief. So the flexibility, the SiO bond is very flexible, allowing the silicon to absorb vibration and give the cushion compound from the physical shock and stress caused by thermal expansion and contraction. So if you look at the thermal expansions and contractions, what is thermal expansion exactly? Like whenever the heat increases, so some polymers or materials tend to form or to grow at that kind of conditions. So at that, if you look at the railway tracks, so it's a gap between the railway tracks between the two iron rods. Because of the thermal expansion, if iron rod is expand, so it can be the space or the gap between them can take that expansion, or can they take that contraction. So that's how these kind of flexible and stress relief polymers for coatings can be used. Because of their flexible nature, they can take the physical shock and stress caused by thermal expansion or contractions. So this is an important properties of such kind of polymers. So I hope this silicon polymer is clear. What is this? What is the chemistry behind this? How it is formed, the structure, and their different properties. Okay, then let us take the question of based on the silicon. So the first question is, silicon-based encapsulator are selected for microelectronic devices because they, first option is, conduct electrical signals efficiently, remain stable over wide temperature ranges, are biodegradable and eco-friendly, or strengthen metallic connections. So why these silicon-based encapsulators are selected for microelectronics devices? And I hope overall in this session we have realized that different type of polymers can be used in such conditions, because they have like different type of I can say the similar type of properties, like to heat, electrical resistance, their thermal resistance, their chemical resistance, their mechanical properties, so such kind of properties. So and now we can understand like different type of polymers such as polyurethane, epoxy, silicon can be used for the similar, depending, because of the cost is also an important factor whenever we are using such kind of polymers. So we need to use such kind of polymers which are in the range because we need to make materials cost effective. So that's why like polyurethane is a cheap material, so we can use polyurethane in normal electronics. But whenever we are talking about aerospace or the automotive, so such there we require such high class materials. We cannot think of cost because of the casualty that can be happen due to cost cutting. There we can use the polymers like silicon or the epoxies. So that's how their applications has differ, but they have the similar properties. Okay, so the answer of this question is, I got one answer which says that B remains stable over wide temperature ranges. And yes, it's the answer is B. And the exceptional thermal stability is a direct result of their strong and flexible siloxane chemical backbone. Because of this SiO-Si chemical backbone, they can make them reliable for electronic that operates in demanding environments. The other options are incorrect because silicons are electrical insulator. Like the first option is like the conduct electricity is wrong. And are biodegradable? No, they are not biodegradable. And strengthen metallic connections? No. And with the term like non-biodegradable. So yeah, they are non-biodegradables, but the concern is like we can use such type of polymers for a longer period of time. So if we can use these for the longer period of time, so here biodegradability is not that much issue because for the like single use plastic they are also not biodegradable, but we can use such plastics for just one time, and hence they can cause lot more pollution than these thermosets, because these thermosets we cannot recycle them of course, but because of their long use process, like we can use them for years and years and years. So it's like one form can be used for multiple times or multiple years. So that's how the biodegradability here has a little bit impact rather than the use of single plastics. And I hope this question is very easy as per the given concern and the topic. Okay, then let's move forward with the next topic or with the next question. So yeah, silicone coating in electronic are primarily used to provide what? Magnetic shielding, enhanced conductivity, electrical insulation and moisture protection, or optical clarity. This is also a very simple topic because we have just read about the properties of these silicones. Okay, so the answer is C, electrical insulation and moisture protection. Yeah, silicon coatings are widely used in electronics because they offer several important protective properties, but electrical insulation is one of them. Silicon is an excellent dielectric material. It prevents the flow of electric current. This helps to protect a sensitive electronic component from short circuit and electrical information interference. Moisture protection is another one because silicon coating provide a water resistant barrier that protect electronics from humidity, moisture, corrosive environments. This is crucial for devices used in harsh or outdoor conditions. So that's why silicon coatings electronics are primarily used to provide electrically insulation and moisture protection. I hope this question is clear. So let's move forward with the next. Okay, so it's the polyimide and their strength. And I guess this is the last topic of today's session. So here's the polyimide. If we look at the structure, so this is the polyimide. And polyimide is a class of high performance polymers known for their exceptional strength and stability, especially under harsh harsh conditions. You can often recognize them by their characteristics amber gold color. They are material of choice for application that need to be durable, lightweight, and flexible. With the flexible circuit in your smartphone or a laptop. What's the secret? The aromatic amide structure. This the incredible properties of polyamides come from their unique chemical structure. The backbone is made of two key components, like the imide group, a very stable, rigid structure containing nitrogen bonded to two carbonyl groups. And another one is the atomic rings, the aromatic rings. They are flat, stable rings, which, like the benzene, which are very rigid. Combining these to create a polymer chain that is incredibly stiff, strong, and difficult to break down. Think of it like the building a wall with perfectly flat, strong bricks held together by exceptionally strong mortar, the imide group. So it's like this. These make the structure of bricks, and these groups connected to them make a structure like it is a very stable and very hold together as a structure. And because of the structure of this imide, they can be used as a very high performance polymers. And like whenever these aerospace or something where you need actually these high performance polymers, because you actually need the very high performance. Because if you talk about the aerospace, you need such rockets or such systems which you need to send to the space and integrate. Apart from the gravity, also the temperature plays an important role, and the electrical insulation, because it cannot disturb the short circuit or such things at that level. So that's why these kind of polymers helps or use in such important places. So the question for this is the polyamides are often used in flexible printed circuit boards, FPCBs, because they offer excellent thermal and dimensional stability, dissolve quickly, are cheaper, or easily degrade. And this is a very simple question, as we just discussed the property right now. So how these polyamides can be used in flexible printed circular boards? Okay, so the answer is yes, polyamides are often used in flexible because of their excellent thermal and dimensional stability. And that's because of the strong chemical bond require a massive amount of heat to break. And these means the polyamide can withstand very high temperature used during soldering without melting, degrading, or losing their shapes. Another one is the dimensional stability, because they are tightly packed structures because of the aromatic ring present in that can prevent the material from stretching, shrinking, warping when temperature or humidity changes. This is vital for a circuit board, as the tiny copper electrical pathways must stay in the exact position to function correctly. And that's how these kind of polyamides can be used in these circuit boards, because of their high, extremely thermal and dimensional stability. So yes, this is what the polyamides. So now we can say that we know about the polyurethane, the silicone, the epoxy, and the polyamides, and their chemistry behind it. And I hope these kind of polymers and their chemistry and the properties are clear to everyone. So let's move forward further. So yeah, I guess this is the last question of today's session, which says polycarbonate plastics are preferred in electronics for their high impact resistance, electrical conductivity, low cost, magnetic shielding. So they are asking about the polycarbonate plastics right now and why they are preferred. And the reason behind all of these polymers are very much the same. Okay, the answer is A, high impact resistance and optical clarity. And if you look at the structure of polycarbonate, so this is how the polycarbonate looks like. So this is the carbonate, such kind of linkage repeated on every unit, and because of this they can use in electronics because of their mechanical and optical properties. And the polycarbonate is highly transparent so that it is allowing to be used to clear display screens, lenses and light covers where good visibility is important. So that's how the important property associated with polycarbonate is transparency. And high impact resistance because it's very tough and can withstand mechanical shocks without cracking. That this is ideal for protective casing, housing, display covers, electronics. So wherever we need the optical clarity, also we can use such kind of polycarbonates coatings in the electronics also. And that's how I guess the topic of these polycarbonates and as well as the others is clear to everyone. And now as we move to the end of the session, I will ask you again if any of you wants me to repeat any kind of polymers or their chemistry, I can. Otherwise, we can just end the session. I guess as this is not very tough topic. Okay. So, okay. I somehow forgot to mention that it's not 9, it's 10. So I wish you all for assignment number 10 and week 10, and I will see you guys all in the next session, which is the 11th session, the second last session of this polymer and process engineering course. Okay, then. Thank you so much, all. Have a great day.